Hello everyone, my name is Mooncalling and welcome to my tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how to create and import art files for use in World of Warcraft. You will need a program to create your art. Both Photoshop or GIMP will work for this. In addition, you're going to need two add-ons for World of Warcraft. KgPanels, which allows you to import art and create custom layouts for your UI, and SharedMedia, which makes importing your art much easier, and it makes your art accessible to any other add-on that uses the SharedMedia library. Links to both of these add-ons will be in the description below. But first, we are going to need to open up Photoshop so that we can create your art. Now, of course, you're going to be creating a new file. And I like to work in 512 by 512. I like squares, and I like to work bigger so that I can scale down, and if it needs to be huge, it doesn't look terrible. And obviously, you're going to want to be in 72 pixels per inch with RGB color and a transparent background. Now, for KgPanels, you don't have to use 512 by 512. I've used 256 by 256, and it'll go up to 1024 by 1024. It does not have to be a square, it can be a rectangle, just simply all sides must be divisible by 2. And honestly, I've had better luck with creating with more standard sizes like 256 or 512. I've been able to use other people's art and it works, but for whatever reason, mine sometimes doesn't. But either way, this is what we are gonna work with 512 by 512. So of course, you've got a blank square. It's not particularly exciting or interesting, but this is where we're gonna create some art. Now, I actually already have some. See, this is pretty much a unit frame art that I've created. You know, I've got some flowers, some leaves. It's fairly girly, but that is what I like. And what you can see here is this gray box, which is actually what I was just simply using to represent the unit frame that I will have inside the game. Now, to make your life easier, I would suggest starting with a box. Just fill it with any color, and it'll make it easier on you. And in fact, what you want to do is, after you've created this, you want to select it, then you want to copy it, and just go to create new again. And this should tell you the size that's on the clipboard. So this is 330 pixels by 135. You're just going to want to write that down so that when it comes time to actually create your unit frame, you know what size to make it. And when I say create your unit frame, I mean using whichever unit frame program you're using, be it Pitbull or Shadowed Unit Frames or Stuff, whichever. But either way, you don't actually need to create a new file. I just use this to measure it. Okay, so now I'm going to turn my art back on. I'm going to deselect this. And actually, I don't need this gray panel. I'm not going to use this. I really just want these flowers. So these two are going to go in the trash. And now what I have left are these two different, I've got some leaves and some flowers. We're going to merge these layers to be one layer. And I like to put, when I'm doing art for World of Warcraft, I like to put a slight drop shadow around my work. It just helps it stand out just a little bit. Tell it OK. And now, if you have chosen to do any sort of layer style, you're going to need to rasterize it. Next up, you're going to put your finger over the thumbnail and just hit Control. We are selecting the contents of this layer, and then you're going to come over here to Channels. Down here at the bottom is Save Selection as Channel. Now, I am using Photoshop Creative Suite 6, so if you are using an older version, it might be slightly different. From what I remember, Photoshop Creative Suite 3 and beyond, the instructions are the same. If you're using older than that, it is different. But honestly, I don't remember how to do it. So you might have to do a little research. But what we have created here is an alpha channel. Everything that you see that is red like this is going to be transparent. So you can see it now with all the color turned off. You've got your white, got a little bit of a glow outside. And now what I like to do is I'm going to create a new layer, drag it under, then we are going to fill it with black. And this again lets you see your transparency and your alpha channel much better. See, there we go. This step isn't super necessary, but I like it, and it makes your artwork pop, I think. All right, you're going to merge these layers again. And what you have created, now this file is actually ready. Alpha channel can be off or on, whichever. This file is ready to be saved. Now I like to do save as. I don't like to overwrite my PSDs in case I need to come back and redo something. So we're going to do a save as. This is going to be a targa. Now targa is the file that it has to be in. Photoshop does not, or World of Warcraft does not read PNGs, JPEGs, or whatever. It has to be a targa. And targa will also hold your alpha channel, and without that alpha channel, World of Warcraft would see a square, just a square, no transparency. It would not be grid. Alright, so we are saving this as tutorial_unitframe.tga, and I'm actually going to save it on my desktop so that I can find it more easily in just a few minutes. So we're going to just click save. And you want it to be the 32 bits per pixel, no compression. Just tell it OK. Awesome. So now we are actually done with this, and now it is time to import your art into World of Warcraft. Here's our unit frame. Now there are two ways of doing this. I'm going to show you the easy way. Basically, you are going to need to download the SharedMedia add-on from Curse or from WoW Interface, and then you are going to want to install that. So here we have this is my add-ons, obviously, in my program files, World of Warcraft Interface add-ons. I'm going to copy and paste that here in the add-on folder. So now it is installed, and you are going to open up your SharedMedia. If this is a fresh install, you are going to see something called mymedia.bat.text. You are going to want to rename that by taking off the .text. Yes, we do want to change it. So open up mymedia.bat. Yes, tell it to run. Basically, it's saying the script will prepare files for you. So where it says press any key to continue, press any key. Now what that has done is you have now created a new folder called SharedMedia mymedia, and inside that you've got folders for background, border, font, sound, and status bar. These are all empty currently because you haven't put anything in there. Now we are going to take background, and we are going to copy and paste our file into there. So now we've got tutorial_unitframe.tga, and we're going to come back to SharedMedia, and we are going to run mymedia.bat again. And what it has done for you now is now there is a Lua file where it says that it has registered as a background tutorial unit frame. And what this has done now is now KgPanels will be able to find this background, and in fact any program or any add-on that uses the mymedia library, which is quite a lot of them, will now have access to this background. So if you felt like doing bars, or you wanted some new fonts or sounds or whatever, you could put them in here, and essentially anytime you add something to these folders, just come back out and rerun the SharedMedia.bat, and it will recreate your Lua file for you. Now this is a point where we are going to be logging into World of Warcraft, so we are going to pause for just a moment to let me get loaded up, and then I'll show you what to do next. Hello again, and as you can see, we are now in World of Warcraft, And I have here my unit frame that I have created using shadowed unit frames. Now again, you can use whatever unit frame mod that you prefer. Xpearl, Pitbull, Stuff. I'm sure there are other ones out there that I'm forgetting about, but this is what I prefer to use. And as you can see, I've got a unit frame and it's actually pretty big. It's bigger than what you would use in game, but for now, that's the size that it's going to be. Now obviously what you're going to want to do is we are going to want to create a layout for KgPanels. So what you are going to want to do is type KgPanels config, and that brings up the KgPanels configuration. Now for our profile, I do have something called my YouTube Toot profile, which is what I'm working on. But as you can see under layouts, I have a none layout, which means nothing, or I have nothing else. So what we're going to have to do is create a layout. We're going to call this YouTube. We're going to create it, and now nothing has really changed because what we have to do now is set YouTube as the active layout. Now basically what this means is that you can create lots of different layouts depending on what artwork you create, and you can save those all as different layouts and you can switch between them. Now our layout currently has nothing in it at all. So what you're going to do, you're going to click on Active Panels, and we are going to create a panel name. We're just going to call this Player, because this is going to be on our Player unit frame. Tell it OK, and create. And as you can see, it has made a box. Now this box is what's going to hold your artwork, but we need to change several things about it, such as the size and what it looks like. So you're going to come down here, click on Player, and expand it. And the first thing you're going to want to do, the background color style, we want this as a solid, and horizontal and blend. So we want this, it doesn't have to be the white, but you definitely want the opacity to be as high as possible. Now we're going to come here to texture options. Now as you can see, the texture option we have selected now is the solid, which is just a solid color. Now there are already lots of random things in here. Most of these are from the SharedMedia library actually. So we could, if we wanted to, we could use any of these to make all sorts of different backgrounds, but we aren't going to use these right now. We are going to go down and find tutorial, where is it? Tutorial unit frame. And should you happen to see any green squares, that means that is art that is not loaded in properly for whatever reason. And since this art is being pulled from the SharedMedia library, that means something has not been reading from SharedMedia, so it's not your fault. And there's really not much you can do about it at the moment. So as you can see, now our panel has our artwork in it, but it's still not quite right. You're going to come down here to the texture, or the border texture. You're going to tell it none, because you more than likely do not want a border. And now the next thing you're going to change here is you are going to change these background insets to 0, because you don't want background insets. Essentially, you've just centered your art inside that box. And now the second thing you're going to do, you're going to come back. So you can see the default panel width is 200 by 100, but we don't want that. Now we already know that our art was 512 by 512. So you can go ahead and just create your art that size, and as you can see, it fits very nicely around our unit frame. Now currently we have our strata set to background, and basically the strata means what level, or essentially what layer, your artwork is on. You can think of this like Photoshop layers, and right now the background is the background layer. Now if you wanted this on top of the excuse me, on top of the background, or on top of the unit frame, you would have to change the layer. Now obviously you could put on the high layer, but the problem with that is when it is on the high layer, you can see that it's over the Blizzard frames, like the Blizzard menu frames, and you probably don't want that because it's going to interfere. Now this is a problem with shadowed unit frames, not necessarily with the other ones, but shadowed unit frames, you cannot change the layer your unit frame is actually present on. So what you have to do when using with shadowed is you're going to want to set this to medium, and right now it still looks like it's behind, but this is where these little sliders come to play. Basically what you're going to want to do is this level essentially lets you play within the layer itself. So what we are going to do, you can almost consider this as a group, I suppose, like in Photoshop, and now we're going to change the level within the group. Now if we go all the way up to 8, you can see that now the artwork is on top of the entire unit frame, from the border to the, actually I'm going to lock this so you can see it better, from the border to the text to everything. But if you start going down in levels, see, if you're on level 7, now the text is above the artwork. Go down to 6, doesn't change, but again on unit 5 it looks like now your actual bars are above the art, down and down. Now I personally liked it on level 7 where my artwork is still over the bars but underneath my text. So I'm going to leave that on level 7. And now the next thing you are going to want to do is, if you unlocked your unit frames, you would see that our unit frame art does not actually go with the unit frame itself. It stays put to where it was locked, and you could drag this all over, but that's not what we want. We want to be able to make sure that our art goes where our unit frame goes, and the way you have to do that is with parenting and anchor settings. Now I have a macro that I will link to you or put it down in the description so you can copy and paste it, that essentially once it is on your bars, as you can see, I can now find out what the name of this unit frame is. This is SUF unit player. If I moused over this, it would be SUF header party 2, 3, target. So there's a bunch of stuff. But what we're really concerned with is SUF unit player. So what we're going to want to do here is delete that out and type in SUF unit player. Make sure it's spelled right, you haven't messed anything up. Tell it okay. It's going to move it a little bit. And we're going to anchor SUF unit player. Tell it okay. And now it seems to have disappeared, but that is okay. A lot of times what we can do to fix that is just a quick reload. Up and see it is back. So now we're going to reopen KgPanels. Now as you can see, we can now move the art or move the unit frame, and the art comes with it. And now, because this thing is huge, obviously much larger than what you need, we are going to open SUF again. Come into the unit configuration, player, frame, and we are going to scale this down to be more reasonable. And as you can see, the artwork actually scales with this unit frame because it is parented to this. So you could make this freaking huge. or make it teeny, and it's going to stay the same size. It's going to maintain the ratio with your uniframe. So this looks like a more reasonable size. Close this and lock it again. And so now you can see we've got our lovely unit frame with our lovely artwork. And really, that is essentially all that you have to do now. To create more panels, you would need to just simply repeat these steps and make sure that you've got similar settings for solid and horizontal and blend and everything. And you can use this macro to determine pretty much any of the names of the frames of your UI. So I hope this tutorial has been useful to you, and if you have any problems or maybe any questions, just leave a comment and I will do my best to answer them. I can't solve every problem, but hopefully I can help, especially if you're using a different unit frame mob than I do. So, but I do hope this was useful, and if it has been, you know, click the like button so that I know that I've helped you. And thanks again for joining me, and I hope you have a wonderful time customizing your UI in World of Warcraft. Bye-bye!